Coming up on Network Africa. 8 students arrested in Kenya following suspected deadly school arson attack. World Health Organization Chief Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus says deadly Ebola outbreak in the DRC can be stopped. Plus, South Africa's opposition leader Julius Malema criticizes Ghana's evacuation of citizens from the country. A warm welcome to the program today. I'm Joka Rogers. We begin with an update from the Kenya school fire accident as 8 students suspected of involvement in a deadly arson attack at a girls' school in Gilgil have been arrested after the fire tragically killed 16 pupils. According to police reports, the blaze broke out in the early hours of Thursday at the Utumishi Girls Academy. It rapidly tore through the upper floor of a dormitory that housed 135 bunk beds. The National Police Service says that the following interviews with students and staff, as well as a forensic review, 8 pupils were identified as persons of interest in connection with the planning and execution of the arson attack. Officials add that the students were detained for questioning. Some were tracked down and detained locally, while others were traced to their family homes and brought back to the school. In the meantime, investigations are ongoing to determine the exact cause of the blaze. Meanwhile, parents and relatives have gathered at the school gates and grounds in the aftermath of the blaze, demanding answers from authorities. Speaking at the scene, Kenya Red Cross Secretary General Ahmed Idris says his team is entirely focused on supporting the bereaved families through the difficult identification process. He describes the tragedy as devastating and urged that the grief of the affected families be shielded from any political interference. I don't know where my face.
Our work is cut out in 2 main elements. One is as the process of identifying the children who have unfortunately lost their life is being undertaken. We will have to support and we continue to support the parents, the relatives, the friends in that process of grieving. So the psychosocial support team will be here the next couple of days to support the families until the time of the burial. Any disaster incident where 16 people lose their lives is extremely sad. It is particularly horrifying when it is 16 people who are young, who are children, and that's the context that we are responding to. And our request to everyone is to allow and to facilitate, the parents and the affected relatives to mourn without any, political elements.
Let's get more on this from Kenyan journalist Cyrus Mbati. Cyrus, thank you for joining us on the program to shed more light on this tragic incident. We understand you've been on the ground covering from the scene. What updates can you give us on the incident?
Well, thank you for having the show. Actually, as you have put it very clearly, at the ground, things are not good because their parents were not able to get their children, and it has been shorted for the second day today because they are anxious and eager to see whether their children are alive or dead. For those whose children have been arrested, there are 8 students who are arrested because of this incident. They're also anxious because they want to see their loved ones. They don't want to believe that they are the people who are behind the arson incident that killed their 16 colleagues. So the ground, as you said very clearly, at the school and at the mortuary where the bodies are, it's actually a mourning situation as you can put in the
Right, and investigation says, some of the latest reports says the cause of the fire is still being investigated. So what are the authorities suspecting? Because when it comes to suspected arson attacks, a lot of things can be used. It could be a deliberate lighting of fire, chemicals can be used. So the investigations that have been carried out, what are the authorities suspecting could have been used to cause this fire? And of course, the motive.
Well, we've talked to some of the police officers involved in the investigation that saying that some of the students who are involved, they use a matchbox and mattresses, their own mattresses to light the fire. So there have been issues about the dormitory where they sleep. They were complaining about congestion. They were complaining about it not being open because there are two doors, but one of them was permanently closed. So that one was an issue among the students. They wanted to be open, but never the school administration never listened to their grievances. So we understand that the whole issue is linked to the issues that the students were complaining about the school management itself. And up to until on Wednesday night and Thursday morning, that's when now it blew up. Some students now got a matchbox, used their own mattresses to set up the fire at the entrance of the dormitory, which had more than 200 people, students there. Then it killed all those 16 fellow students.
Right, and these are minors, I understand. Is the school being held responsible? Any staff, found culpable maybe of, not being, those who are supposed to watch over the students, maybe, they were not there at that time to actually nip this in the bud?
Actually, as you put very clear, there are two teachers who knew about the whole thing. They have been tipped off by some students that there are plans to burn down the dormitory or to riot because of the grievances they had raised about the congestion. But then the teachers never raised the issue, and they never escalated up there so that it can be solved. So the government has said that the two teachers are being punished and they may be charged in court maybe from next week. The school administration, the matron who was supposed to be on duty, she was not on duty that day. But then she said it was a weekend, it was a holiday, Eid holiday, and it was a dull day. Little did she know that it was the day they wanted to attack.
But immediate support is being provided to the grieving parents and affected students.
Oh, well, we understand that the only much issue that's being offered is counseling. Maybe the DNA sampling that is being done by the government, pathologists are on the ground, they're trying to do post-mortem for the bodies. And then we can't say that there's financial assistance because those who are injured, they're flown to Nairobi, it's almost 100 kilometers away, so they can be getting more specialized treatment. That's the much that the government is offering on these families who are grieving.
Right, and given that this is a police-sponsored academy, how are the authorities responding to public concerns over the lack of basic fire safety measures at the facility?
Oh, well, you see, this school is still new. Everyone expected that, because it started 2020, everyone expected that it should have modern equipment for firefighting, it should have special dormitories. But then people are disappointed that it has such kind of infrastructure that led to the death of the students. You put it very clearly, these are police-sponsored schools because most of the students there are children of policemen. And it has now complicated even investigations because those are being arrested are the children of policemen and the people are investigating as policemen also. So it's a really complicated issue that everyone is looking into.
Right. Thanks again, Cyrus.
Thank you for me, Pastor.
Staying in Kenya, a high court in the country has temporarily suspended a controversial U.S. plan to open an Ebola quarantine facility for American citizens. The proposed center had sparked widespread public concern over cross-border infection risks. According to American officials, the 50-bed isolation unit to be located at an Air Force base was scheduled to begin operations today and be staffed entirely by U.S. medics. In its court petition rights group, the Katiba Institute warned that the arrangement posed grave and imminent risks to public health, arguing it was established in secrecy without a public or parliamentary oversight. Following the petition, High Court Judge Patricia Yaundi barred the operation of any foreign-led Ebola facility in Kenya and explicitly blocked the entry of anyone exposed to the virus until the case is fully heard. Meanwhile, the Kenyan government has not directly commented on the plan. Meanwhile, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the World Health Organization chief Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus says the deadly Ebola outbreak can be stopped. Dr. Ghebreyesus made the comments on arrival in the capital, where he's overseeing the response to the highly infectious disease. He urged for unity and collaboration to overcome the crisis, vowing to do everything in his power to help the country. The WHO chief also called for increased international funding, warning that only about a third of the financial support needed to tackle the virus has been secured so far. Additionally, Dr. Ghebreyesus notes that the WHO does not support travel bans in affected countries, arguing that such restrictions don't help much. The WHO has recorded 10 confirmed and 223 suspected Ebola deaths in the DRC since the outbreak was declared on May 15. When we come back on Network Africa, we'll take a look at some other stories still to come. SMEs are regarded as Nigeria's engine room. We'll take a look at their growth and how they help the country's GDP. In a moment, please stay with us. Welcome back to the program. Madagascar's top court has dismissed a bid by an opposition lawmaker to oust the country's military ruler. Prominent member of parliament, Antoine Rajarison, had petitioned the High Constitutional Court to remove Army Colonel Michael Randrianarina, who has led the country since last October, accusing him of treason for what he called serious and repeated violations of the Constitution, including making appointments. However, the High Constitutional Court rules that the request was inadmissible, stating it failed to meet the strict constitutional requirements necessary for removing a sitting head of state. Colonel Randrianarina originally came to power after his predecessor, Andre Rajoelina, fled the country following an escalation in youth-led protests over severe water and energy shortages. And we turn our attention to South Africa, where opposition politician Julius Malema has criticized Ghana's decision to evacuate some of its citizens from the country amid growing fears of xenophobic violence. Speaking to the media, Mr. Malema questioned the timing of the evacuation, arguing that Ghana's response risks escalating tensions and creating negative perceptions of South Africans. While Mr. Malema condemned violence against undocumented African migrants, he equally blamed global inequality for South Africa's struggles, saying that the country's true enemy is not foreign nationals, but an economic system that keeps African people poor while a tiny elite accumulate wealth.
Of North Africa has contributed to attacks, discrimination and expulsion of vulnerable migrants whose only crime was searching for dignity and survival. And of course, we have witnessed repeated waves of anti-African violence in South Africa itself, where migrants from Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Somalia, Ethiopia, Nigeria, Malawi, Congo and elsewhere have been attacked, displaced, looted and killed. We must say clearly, this violence can never be justified. An unemployed South African and an unemployed Zimbabwean are both victims of the same global system of inequality and exploitation. A Nigerian street trader and a South African worker are not enemies. A Somali shopkeeper and a township resident are not enemies. The true enemy is the system that keeps African people poor while a tiny elite accumulates wealth. Kwame Nkrumah warned us when he said, the forces that unite us are intrinsic and greater than the superimposed influences that keeps us apart. Julius Nyerere also reminds us, without unity, there is no future for Africa. Thomas Sankara taught us that imperialism often occurs in more subtle forms: loan, food, aid, blackmail. Part of that subtle imperialism is teaching Africans to fear one another instead of confronting the structure that exploits all of us collectively. We must also never forget that African liberation itself depended on solidarity across borders. South African freedom fighters found refuge in Zambia Tanzania, Angola, Mozambique, Algeria, Ethiopia, Libya, Zimbabwe, and Nigeria. Mozambique and Angola suffered destabilization and military attacks because they supported the anti-apartheid struggle. Nigeria funded liberation movements across Southern Africa. We must understand something fundamental. In the global system, Africans only truly have one another. Europe will defend European interests. America will defend American interests. China will defend Chinese interests. Africa must defend African interests.
And here in Nigeria, small businesses are regarded as the backbone of the country's economy, generating nearly half of the country's GDP and employing almost 9 in every 10 workers. Yet most of Nigeria's 40 million SMEs have never accessed a single naira of government support, and many do not even know that support exists. Our business correspondent, Willie Bong, has the story of one man who built a business without the system and what that says about Nigeria's economic development challenge.
This work when I need to, it start work before most people they wake up. They enter road before the sun will set.
Walk down any Nigerian street and count the businesses. The suya spot, the welder shop, the provision store, the tricycle at the curb. Nearly every one of them is a small or medium enterprise. Together, all 40 million of them, they guarantee nearly half of everything Nigeria produces. They employ almost 9 in every 10 Nigerian workers. They are not a footnote in this country's economic development story. They are the story. Ochukwu Egod has been writing that story for 4 years. Today, he runs 3 tricycles.
After I graduated, so I work in a firm to save money. So when I was working in the firm, that is, the pay was not much. It's just peanuts. They're giving us peanuts. So I save. Okay, after I saved, I said, okay, let me just do business. So I purchased a Marwa.
We employ approximately 80 million people, and we contribute to approximately half of Nigeria's GDP. And so what we want to do is to help our small businesses with 4 key things: all the guidance that they need, all the resources they need, all the opportunities that they need, and all the workforce support to make sure that they can continue to contribute as much as they're doing to Nigeria's GDP and even more.
The numbers tell one story, but behind them, another story entirely.
What we need to do is to understand that the biggest impediment to the growth and profitability and viability of small and medium-scale enterprises is the lack of power. Not just power, quality of power, quantity of power, and they have no access. And when they get power, it's expensive, and when they get it, it's unreliable.
But Nigeria's economic development has a ceiling. And for millions of the businesses holding this economy up, that ceiling is made of credit. Ochukwu built 3 tricycles with no bank loan, no government program, just family, a cooperative, and reinvested earnings. The loan apps were never an option. Word travels fast at the motor park. Some charge interest of up to 50%. He did the maths before they could trap him.
The interest is too much. And if you not pay in those loan apps, they will post your picture everywhere and begin to disgrace you.
The maturity of the banking system right, has become extreme, is growing but very slowly. The needs and the requirements of these informal and small and medium-scale enterprises is growing much faster than the banking system is willing to transform itself.
Recently, the Central Bank of Nigeria announced that credit disbursement to small businesses hit 199 billion naira in April alone. The Bank of Industry also secured $200 million from the African Development Bank to boost SMEs and women-led businesses. That sounds like progress. But spread across 40 million businesses, the CBN figure alone works out to roughly 5,000 naira each. Ochiko has never seen a kobo of it.
This loan, I discovered that these things, they are coming in. But those that are in top, they will just hijack those loans and whatever and give it to their cousins and whatever.
We put the reality to the Director General of SMEDEN, Charles Odi.
The biggest problem is not that government is not doing enough, but that the people that government is supposed to be doing it for are not in the know.
40 million small businesses, nearly half of Nigeria's economy. Most of them invisible to the very agencies that are built to serve them. The government has programs. The operators don't know they exist. Bridging that gap is not just a policy question. It's the defining economic development challenge of this country. So, what is the answer?
We may not be able to reach you one-on-one. You can register with your cooperative, just your cluster, your business member organization. We will definitely reach your business member organization. So that's my message to Ochoko.
I've built 3 keke with my own hand, with my family, with my hustle, and with the help of God. No bank help me, no government see me, but we still dey grow. Imagine wetin I fit do if this country really support people like me. We dey carry Nigerians, somebody suppose carry us too.
Will Ibong, Channels Television News.
Such a compelling story there. Well, as we go, let's bring you a fun fact about Africa. We return to Kenya for this one. Did you know that Kenya sits on one of the most powerful geological wonders on Earth? Cutting through the country is a legendary Great Rift Valley, a gigantic fracture in the planet's surface stretching thousands of kilometers across the continent. From towering cliffs to deep volcanic lakes, the Rift Valley is so massive that it can actually be seen from space. And scientists say the land is still slowly pulling apart, reshaping the continent itself. That's Network Africa. Thank you for watching. I'm Joke Rogers.